harbor and then we turn off to, let's see, Temple. That part puts it North Hollywood. That'd be North Hollywood.
I have to tell you, he's hard of hearing, he's hard of hearing, I'm hard of hearing. So please speak up or else.
Well, I'm going to be doing most of the interviewing, so I'll make sure that
Very loud, okay.
I'll make sure I speak up so that you guys can hear what I have to say.
I think we'll have cats, Talking Cats, and Alice and Acom, but Jim.
Sure.
A background, a camp, whatever you want.
Okay.
Camp 1942 to 44 or 46 experience.
Okay.
Then there you can get an idea of where we fit in.
Sure.
Notch.
We would love that. Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. So, yeah, we have some questions that we thought of for you guys, but if you want to introduce yourselves, that would be wonderful.
Okay, say how much introduction do you want?
It's
Yeah.
entirely up to you.
Well, I'm Kathy Hikito, and I was interned in Gila River in Arizona.
Okay.
So,
But did you want to say a little bit more about the academic experience?
Which camp you were, and
Which
what,
camp?
so kind of
The
to get an
situation.
idea.
oh,
Because we come from all different camps, so
Yeah.
we should kind of tell them which camp we are.
oh yeah, well, see, Gila River was about 50 miles southeast of Phoenix, Arizona, on the middle of the desert. And there were two camps, Camp 1 and Camp 2.
Okay.
And I was in Camp 1, so Block 4, as a matter of fact. So,
Okay.
and I was there for 1 year, actually. And then they let me go on to go to school. So I
To
just
go
spent
to,
1
to
year.
go to college, or
Yeah, I see. When the war started in 1941, I was going to Cal, University of California, Berkeley. And it was during my freshman year that I evacuated. So,
okay.
and so after 1 year in camp, then they let me go out to school. And I couldn't go back to Cal, obviously, but they let me go to school in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, really?
So I went to school there for 1 year. So.
Interesting. Okay. Why couldn't you go back to Cal Berkeley?
Well, because we were excluded from the West Coast.
Okay. Still.
See, that was the exclusion order.
Okay.
So,
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that there was after they were. Was that after the camps were all closed? You were still excluded from the West Coast, or?
no, in 1945, when the camps started to close, then people could start coming back.
Okay.
See, the war was still on, but it was almost over. And so.
Okay. Well, thank you. We'll ask you all. We have some questions, like I said, that we drew up. But thank you for the introduction. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Alice Hikito, and when the war broke out in 1941, my family was living in Alaska. There were a small group of Japanese that were living in small communities in Alaska. And so immediately after Pearl Harbor, my father was arrested along with other Japanese aliens, actually, male aliens. And he was eventually sent to a camp in Santa Fe, New Mexico, was separated from us. And then my mother and my two older brothers, myself and a younger sister, in April, we were sent to what was called Assembly Center in Washington, outside of Seattle, in Puyallup, Washington. And then that was in about April, and then in August, I think it was August, we were sent from there by train to the permanent.
Would you kind of talk this way? So you talk to him, so we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Hard to hear, so.
Yeah, right, I'm sorry. But then in August of 1942, we were sent by train to the permanent internment camp, and it was called Minidoka, and it was outside of a town called Twin Falls, Idaho.
Minidoka is in Idaho.
Idaho. So, and most of the people that were in that particular camp were from the state of Washington and Oregon, and then of course a handful of us that came down from Alaska. So that's the beginning of our. And at the time I was 9 years old, and my oldest brother was a senior mention a kind of a nice thing. We were left in April, and our small high school, like I said, my brother was a senior, they gave him a little graduation assembly because he was going to be taken away. So that was a very nice thing that they did for him.
That's nice. That is nice. That was the high school that he was leaving, gave him a little graduation ceremony?
It was a very small high school. I think the class only had about maybe like 30 people in the class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Okay.
everybody really knew each other very well.
Well, that's a nice thing for them to do, to be understanding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And
My name is Eiko, and I was born in Seattle, Washington. And when we had the executive orders 9066 and we had to evacuate, we were put on a train from Washington, and we rode all the way through Oregon, all the way to California, down to a place called Pinedale by Fresno. And that was Assembly Center. And from there, we stayed there 3 months until they started building permanent barracks up in Tule Lake, up by border of California and Oregon. And so I was there for a while. And we had I don't know if you're familiar with the with the questionnaire. Are you familiar with that?
no, not really. If you could,
Yeah.
and I don't know if the rest of the group is.
Well, I think that part of it, we can go downstairs and we can kind of go through it because it's printed out.
Okay.
And that was there. We can talk about it, but if you don't know what it really means, it's hard to talk.
Anyway,
Sure.
because of that incident where we had to, all the kids and parents older than, I think it was 15, was it? 15 and older? We had
No, see, I think it was 17 and older had
17.
signed up.
Anyway, I was 15 when I was put in camp. And so, anyway, I wanted to go to college. And so, since I was the only daughter and I have 2 younger brothers, my father didn't want the family to be broken up. So, anyway, I said that, I answered, no, I was positive so that I would be able to go to college, but that didn't happen. So we were shipped from Turtle Lake to a place in Arkansas called Jerome, and we were there for a few months, and the government said we have to make room for the German POWs, so you Japanese people have to leave. So they kicked us out of that camp, and then I was put in a place called Gila in Arizona. So I went to all these different camps. So briefly, that's what happened to me.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Jimmy Yamaichi. Born and raised here in San Jose. With executive order, we were told to meet in San Jose. So one train load, majority of Santa Clara Valley went to Santa Anita Racetrack. But there's one train load that went from here to Pomona, and we were one train load from Santa Anita to Pomona Assembly Center. And then I spent 3-4 months at the Pomona Assembly Center, and then sent to Heart Mountain, Wyoming. So majority of the San Jose group, and there was San Gabriel Valley, some downtown, and a lot of the Oregon, Yakima Valley,